Welcome and welcome back. I'm B. Today I want to talk about some lighthearted, fun horror or horror adjacent movies. In a world that's feeling a bit too much like a horror movie itself, sometimes we just need an escape. For me, that means diving into films that bring a little bit of fun to the scares, because let's be real, we all need something that brings us joy and helps us to decompress. This isn't going to be an exhaustive list, and it's based on the movies that I've seen. If there are any movies that I did not mention, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. All right, let's get into it. In no particular order, first up is the cult classic Killer Klowns from Outer Space, which is exactly as weird as it sounds, in the best way possible. You've got these creepy, ugly, goofy looking clowns from outer space who land on Earth and start turning people into human sized cotton candy snacks. Their weapons are popcorn guns and balloon animals that come to life. It's got the wonderfully ridiculous low budget charm where you can tell they're leaning all the way into the absurdity. You're not here to be terrified, you're here to watch creepy clowns with giant shoes and wacky grins cause chaos in the most ridiculous ways. It's campy, it's fun, and it's a classic reminder of horror that doesn't take itself too seriously. How can you not love it? And oh, this MFer right here got on my damn nerves, and that's why he got turned into a puppet. Next up is Cabin in the Woods. At first glance, it might seem like just another Cabin in the Woods horror flick with a group of friends heading out to a secluded spot for a weekend of fun. But this one takes a major turn, with a clever meta take on the classic horror tropes. Think Evil Dead vibes, but with a twist. There's way more going on behind the scenes than you'd expect. Without giving too much away, let's just say this movie does an amazing job of deconstructing the genre, giving us everything from zombies to creepy redneck villains, and even the chance to see all kinds of different horror monsters. It's both a tribute to and a playful poke at the things we've all seen in horror movies before, and it's so much fun to watch unfold. Next, let's talk about The Blackening. This one is a fun horror comedy that flips the script on the usual horror movie dynamics. A group of college friends head out for a weekend in a remote cabin to celebrate Juneteenth and reconnect. Sounds familiar, right? But what makes this different is how it plays with racial and genre tropes in a hilarious and smart way. The friends find themselves stuck in a terrifying situation, and instead of just being scared, they're cracking jokes and pointing out all the ridiculous horror cliches we've seen a million times. To make things even more intense, they're forced to play a game to test their blackness by the killer. It's got laughs, it's got scares, and it's a fresh take on a genre that feels both familiar and completely new. If you want a good mix of comedy and horror that doesn't take itself too seriously, this one's a must see. Next up is Evil Dead 2. Although I prefer Evil Dead, the first one, Evil Dead 2 is still a fun, wild ride. You've got Bruce Campbell returning as Ash, who's once again trapped in a cabin with demonic forces trying to take him down. But this time, it's way more ridiculous. The movie leans into the absurdity with Ash battling possessed furniture, chainsaw arms, and even his own severed hand. It's chaotic, it's hilarious, and a total roller coaster of absurd horror fun. It's got all the blood, laughs, and ridiculousness you could ever want from a horror comedy. Now let's dive into the Child's Play Chucky franchise, but more specifically Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. These two movies really took the franchise in a fun, unexpected direction. First off, Bride of Chucky introduced us to Tiffany, Chucky's iconic bride, and the chemistry between these two is just pure, chaotic fun. The film really embraces the campy side of the series, leaning into the humor while delivering on the horror. Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany added so much to the franchise with her perfect mix of campiness, sass, charm, and horror, making Tiffany one of the most memorable characters in the Chucky universe. Then there's Seed of Chucky, which turns the dial up even more. It's not my favorite, but it's still a fun watch. We get to meet their child, Glenda, and things get even weirder. It's self-aware, it pokes fun at itself, and it goes full on with the dark humor. The movie brings in some hilarious celebrity cameos and, of course, more of the gory kills that we love. Seed of Chucky pushes the limits of the franchise, blending horror with dark humor and a level of camp that makes it ridiculously fun. Staying on the killer doll theme, let's talk about Megan. This movie takes a classic creepy doll trope and gives it a modern, tech-savvy spin. Megan isn't just your typical doll. She's an AI powered robot designed to be the ultimate companion and protector for a young girl. But as expected, things go off the rails when Megan's protective instincts turn deadly. What really made me want to watch this movie was a trailer with Megan's bizarre dancing. It's so ridiculous, so over the top, and honestly, once I saw that trailer, I knew I had to see it. There's just something about her awkward, creepy moves that perfectly captures the strange mix of horror and humor in this movie. Megan's combination of being terrifying and oddly endearing is what makes this movie so much fun. It's got suspense, kills, and just enough ridiculousness to make it a must watch. Let's talk about Young Frankenstein. Oh, excuse me, it's Frankenstein. This movie is a perfect blend of horror and comedy. Gene Wilder is amazing as Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, bringing his usual charm and wit to the character. He's got this incredible ability to mix physical comedy with sharp humor, making every scene he's in a joy to watch. The other characters also did a fantastic job making this a well rounded cast. The film itself takes the classic Frankenstein story and flips it with a hilarious twist, poking fun at the original while still giving a nod to its spooky roots. It's the kind of movie that doesn't take itself seriously, and it's what makes it so much fun to watch. We've got another Frankenstein, Lisa Frankenstein. This one's a fun and quirky twist on the classic tale. The story follows Lisa, a high school outcast who accidentally reanimates the body of a dead boy, and it takes off from there. It combines that 80s teen movie energy with the horror themes we know and love, giving it a fresh vibe. What's great about this film is how it balances dark humor with some genuinely endearing moments. It's Frankenstein for a new generation, embracing the weirdness without getting bogged down by the over the top seriousness. Let's talk about Bodies, 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 another movie that is a wild and chaotic ride that dives headfirst into Gen Z culture, though it might be laying it on a bit thick, which was probably intentional. The movie's got queerness, more horror centered on queer folk, please. A party full of friends and a murder mystery that spirals out of control. The film blends humor with horror, offering a satirical look at friendship, betrayal, and just how messy things can get when things go wrong. Next up is Happy Death Day, a fun slasher flick with a twist. Could you imagine having to relive the day you die over and over again? That's exactly what happens to Tree, the main character, who finds herself trapped in a time loop where she's murdered at the same time every day. As she works to figure out who's behind the attacks and how to break the cycle, the movie mixes horror, mystery, and a little bit of dark comedy. It's a clever spin on the slasher genre, and it keeps you guessing while also having fun with the concept. Let's move on to Drag Me to Hell. First off, Justin Long just can't catch a break in horror movies. The story follows a bank loan officer, Christine, who makes a tough decision to deny an old woman a third extension on her mortgage. Now, why did Christine do that? This creepy old lady was pissed and cursed her. If Miss Mamas had the ability to curse people, why didn't she just use her ability to pay off her house? Anyway, she goes all out with this curse, but the whole thing feels a little bit unnecessary, right? Either way, it's got plenty of jumps, gross out moments, and it's over the top energy that makes it a fun watch, even if you're not a fan of the disgusting old lady vibes. Baby, she's a star. That's right, it's Pearl. Trapped on an isolated farm, Pearl's life seems anything but glamorous. She's stuck caring for her sick father, all while being under the watchful eye of her overbearing mother. But Pearl has bigger dreams. She longs for the glitz and glam she's seen in the movies, and it's clear that the more she's repressed, the more her darker impulses begin to take over. Lusting for fame and the freedom it brings, Pearl's temptations collide with her reality in the most twisted ways. I was honestly pleasantly surprised by Pearl. I thought Mia Goth gave a great performance, and that scene with that scarecrow, my goodness. Next up is Abigail. A group of would-be criminals kidnaps the 12-year-old daughter of a powerful underworld figure, demanding $50 million dollars for her release. They take her to an isolated mansion, but things quickly spiral when they realize Abigail isn't your average kid. She's a bloodthirsty vampire. The movie Abigail isn't perfect. Some aspects didn't quite land for me, but I still found it to be an enjoyable movie. Alicia Ware, who plays Abigail, really stands out. She's got this amazing ability to play both menacing and fun, especially with those ballerina moves before her kills. It's a mix of creepy and darkly comedic that adds a unique twist to the story. While the movie has its flaws, it manages to deliver a solid, fresh take on the vampire genre with a good balance of suspense and unexpected moments. Now we have our horror comedy classic, Beetlejuice. The film follows a recently deceased couple, Adam and Barbara, who try to haunt the new inhabitants of their home but end up needing the help of a mischievous and unpredictable bioexorcist named Beetlejuice. This movie is a good mix of quirky humor and supernatural horror. I really enjoyed the plot, and one of the standout moments is the Deo scene at dinner. I'm not gonna lie, the Deo scene was kind of cringy, but fun at the same time. I think Beetlejuice still holds up today. Next up, we have the movie The Babysitter. A 12-year-old Cole finds out his beloved babysitter, played by Samara Weaving, belongs to a murderous satanic cult of teenagers. Cole must put his crush for his babysitter aside and escape their grasp before they sacrifice him for personal gain. It's definitely got its cheesy moments, but honestly, it's a lot of fun for the most part. There are definitely some cringe-worthy lines here and there, but they don't take away from the enjoyment of the movie. It's just ridiculous in the best way possible. Very over the top, but in a way that keeps you entertained throughout. It's one of those movies that knows exactly what it is, and it doesn't shy away from embracing the silliness. If you're looking for a mix of horror, comedy, and a little bit of gore, this one's a fun ride. Another horror movie starring Samara Weaving. In Ready or Not, a bride's wedding night takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in laws force her to take part in a terrifying game. This was a refreshing movie that I really enjoyed. While the plot has some issues here and there, the balance between horror and comedy made it a fun watch overall. Samara Weaving shines in the horror comedy role, bringing just the right amount of seriousness and humor. The ending, especially, was fun. It's an over the top, satisfying conclusion that fits the movie's wild tone. The whole setup keeps things tense and entertaining, making it one of those horror comedies that stands out. In Jennifer's Body, high schooler Jennifer becomes possessed by a demon, transforming her into a predator with a taste for human flesh. She begins targeting male classmates who never stood a chance with her before. Her best friend Needy eventually realizes what's happening and is determined to end the bloody rampage. Is Jennifer's Body considered a cult classic now? The initial reception to the movie wasn't great, and I think that's because it was marketed wrong. What I liked was that it displayed the complex relationship of teenage girls through Needy and Jennifer. How Jennifer becomes possessed isn't fun, although they use humor in that scene. Megan Fox isn't the best actress, and some scenes and lines in the movie are cringy like a lot of these comedy horrors, but it's still manageable. It's another movie that's gory fun for the most part. We have another classic with Gremlins. A young man receives an unusual pet from his inventor father with three specific rules: keep it away from bright light, don't let it get wet, and never feed it after midnight. When these rules are inevitably broken, the creature spawns mischievous, destructive gremlins that wreak havoc on the town during Christmas, leading to a series of darkly comedic and chaotic events. I love the creature's sci-fi-ish elements. It's fun, a little creepy, and the special and practical effects were great for its time. Next, we have the supernatural fantasy horror 13 Ghosts. When a financially struggling family inherits a mansion from an eccentric uncle, they soon discover it's not a typical house. The mansion is a maze of glass walls inscribed with eerie spells and is home to 12 trapped vengeful spirits. As the family realizes the dark purpose behind the house, and the potential for a terrifying 13th ghost, they must work together to survive the supernatural forces at play. The movie is cheesy, but most of the movies on the list are, and that's what makes them fun. It's creative and has a great monster design. I wanted to learn more about the ghost, and Rod Digger is in this one. Enough said. Feed me, Seymour! Here is a classic Little Shop of Horrors. It follows Seymour, a down on his luck flower shop assistant who discovers a strange plant he names Audrey 2. As Audrey 2 grows, Seymour realizes the plant thrives on human blood and is hungry for more. Caught between his moral dilemmas and his desire for fame and love, Seymour must decide how far he'll go to keep feeding the plant's insatiable appetite, even as its influence spirals out of control. If you love musicals, then you'll love this. The songs in this movie are great. Tashina Arnold, Tisha Campbell, and Michelle Weeks sang their butts off, okay? Now, if you've seen this movie, then you know that there is a dark relationship element, but outside of that, this movie is really fun and another joy to watch. In Hocus Pocus, three 17th century witches, the Sanderson sisters, are accidentally resurrected in modern day Salem on Halloween night. As they plot to steal the life force from local children to stay young and powerful, a teenage boy, his little sister, and their friend team up with a magical cat to stop the witches before sunrise. With humor, mischief, and a bit of Halloween magic, Hocus Pocus has become a holiday favorite. Look, I know the plot of the movie centers around unaliving children, but they do it in a fun way so you forget how dark that really is. I love cats, whether real or magic, so I especially enjoyed Mr. Thackeray Binks. This is a movie that will definitely lift your spirits. Now, this film series needs no introduction. Let's get into A Nightmare on Elm Street. The first movie is the best movie of the franchise, but I want to focus on the runner up, in my opinion, and that is Dream Warriors. Let's dance. A group of teens at a psychiatric hospital are targeted by Freddy Krueger, who haunts their dreams. With the help of Nancy Thompson, a previous survivor, the group learns to harness unique powers in their dreams to fight back. As they work together to confront Freddy, they must face their fears and uncover the truth behind Freddy's evil origins to stop him once and for all. Welcome to prime time. A classic and hilarious line. Freddy's kills get more creative and bizarre in this role. It also has a young Lawrence Fishburne as an orderly. It's a comfort movie for me. The Scream franchise is that girl and also needs no introduction. Wes Craven knew what he was doing with Scream and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Sydney is an iconic final girl and one of my favorites, and Ghostface is also an iconic horror villain. When you view each movie for the first time, it's fun trying to figure out who the killer is or killers. And we all know that Scream is best known for its meta commentary on the genre of horror. It's self aware and smart. Randy Meeks gave us the rules to survive a horror movie, and they are: 1. You can never have sex. 2. You can never drink or do drugs. And 3. Never, never, ever, under any circumstances, say, "I'll be right back," because you won't be back. I'm so mad how they did Randy in Scream 2. And I know that the general opinion is that Scream 3 is the weakest, but I disagree. I actually like Scream 3. 4 is my least favorite, but it's still watchable. In my opinion, the franchise still held its head above water when Neve Campbell left and was absent in Scream 6. Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega took up the mantle of Final Girls, and in my opinion, they did it well. This is a spoiler alert if you haven't watched Scream 5. I'm still mad about Dewey's death, but I love that Ghostface said it's an honor when they killed him. Finally, we have Scary Movie, written and directed by the Wayans brothers. I'm only going to talk about the first movie. I saw the second one, which was good too, and I don't think I saw any of the other ones in the franchise. Scary Movie is a parody film that spoofs popular horror movies, particularly Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. The story follows a group of teens who are stalked by a mass killer after accidentally killing a man the previous year. As they try to uncover the identity of the killer, they encounter a series of ridiculous and over-the-top situations with plenty of humor and slapstick comedy along the way. The film blends horror elements with absurd, comedic moments, poking fun at classic horror tropes. I don't have too much to say on this one. It's a fun parody. Now, some of the jokes do not hold up over time at all, but it's still overall a fun movie to watch. I think it was announced that the Wayans brothers were going to bring back Scary Movie. If they do, I'll only watch if Regina Hall comes back as Brenda. All right, that's it, folks. As I mentioned before, this isn't an exhaustive list of fun horror or horror adjacent movies. These are just the ones that I've watched and enjoyed. I hope you're able to take care of yourself this week and in the weeks to come. Please rest and prioritize your health during these difficult times. In the comments below, let me know what horror movies you watch for a fun escape from everyday real life horrors. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more horror content.